The new NXT champion Joe Hendry kicked off the show tonight. He went on to cut a passionate promo on becoming the new NXT champion, and then he was interrupted by the Vanity Project. The three of them would go on to beat up Hendry after they argue on the mic. It's clear they want to push Jackson Drake as a star, you can tell that. And eventually this would lead to a title match on the show. So Joe Hendry having his first NXT Championship title defense after winning the belt just last week. We go backstage and Sol Ruca and Zarya are in the locker room talking about their loss last week. There's tension over who's going to get the fall tonight. From here, you can tell it's obvious what's going to happen. Sol Ruca's going to get the win tonight, and then Zarya is going to turn on her in 2 weeks in Atlanta. And unfortunately, JC Jane's going to still be the champion. Jada Parker was backstage, and she cut a good promo on Blake Monroe right before she made her entrance. Then we go to a break. When we come back, they show us the Vegas Strip to promote the WrestleMania 42 tickets, which are supposedly underperforming last year's show. Keanu Carver confronted Robert Stone in his office about giving Jackson Drake a title match for himself. He was upset. I mean, WWE pushes this guy like he's the scary big monster. He's just some generic NIL guy that I've seen a million of them. Like, there's nothing about him that stands out to me. So Blake Monroe made her entrance, and she was dressed in all red. Her wrestling gear had to be all red because it's Valentine's Day, and the next NXT show will not take place until after Valentine's Day. So, of course, Blake has to get her gear in. And she looks great in all red. And red and pink, you can see some of the pink as well. She looked great. And we get Blake Monroe against Jada Parker. So early in the match, Jada locked her in body scissors, which actually looked good. Then Blake got the heat for a while after driving Jada into the announce booth. There was this really bad brainbuster botch, and there's no way WWE would have ever allowed them to use a brainbuster, but Blake was going to do a suplex onto Jada, and I think she just couldn't get her up, and Jada landed on her head. And this was on the break, which I got. I'm not sure. The people watching in the U.S. on the CW didn't get it, but us watching on Netflix, we saw that. It was a really bad botch. Blake then did the high step to mock Jada, which was good. And then Jada made her comeback, but then they're both on the outside and they get counted out. And I was glad that this happened. A lot of people in the fans who are watching live, I assume, would be upset about the count out, but I liked it because that means the feud is continuing. The only thing that pisses me off is why isn't Blake Monroe the NXT Women's Champion, and why isn't she defending against Jada Parker? There's no reasons for JC Jane to be champion, and that's why I believe Shawn Michaels should be replaced, just for that. It's incompetence. I don't know what else to tell you. It is poor booking. It is awful. Like it just shows that he can't handle it. He doesn't know what he's doing. But after this, Jada really kicked Blake's ass. Blake finally escapes into the crowd. Jada beat up security guards. I think one of them got thrown through the barricade. And Jada, she lets Blake get away, but it's clear that this feud's going to continue. We got an NXT focus on Tatum Paxley. This was an AI-produced video. Then we go backstage, and Stax, Ariana, and Lexis King try to recruit two of the Chase U guys. Only one of them is interested. I guess Andre Chase is probably going to get let go soon in the next wave of cuts. The announcers then, this was weird. I have to mention this. They indirectly referenced that huge kidnapping case that's going on right now in the U.S. A major broadcaster, her mother was kidnapped, and then they reveal that the villain from the movie Psycho Killer was sitting in the crowd. I don't know what Psycho Killer is. It just seems like some random slash movie that's released onto streaming nowadays, but he was sitting in the crowd. Looks like the most generic horror movie killer ever. He's wearing street clothes. I don't know what this was, but Psycho Killer making a debut on NXT. I don't know. Was this a shot at Ciampa? Wasn't he's Psycho Killer? I don't know. This is just weird. It was just weird. Anyway, it was just weird how they indirectly referenced the kidnapping. They're like, what? Anyway. Then we go to a speed match, Josh Briggs and Eli Knight. Knight wins. Josh Briggs should be fired. I don't give a shit about this guy. Elio LaFleur then confronts Eli. Then the loser, Jasper Troy, attacks them both. He should also be fired. Get rid of these clunky-ass NFL journeymen don't even know if they made the NFL. These are just like college football athletes who couldn't go anywhere. They got a job in WWE from the NIL program and they suck. They have no personality. Dark State heads to the ring. I almost got their name confused when I wrote this with the Dark Side. If you don't know who the Dark Side is, they are the Seattle Seahawks defense. That's what they call themselves, Dark Side. I was almost getting confused. Dark State. Don't say Dark State. Dark State sucks. But the Dark Side, yeah, they don't suck. They are the tough defense. They're almost as good as, maybe they're as good as the Legion of Boom, the old Seattle Seahawks defense that also won a Super Bowl. I'm sure, I didn't show this, but I'm sure WWE gave the Seahawks their own custom WWE Championship belts, like they do for all teams who win major sports championships. Then we go backstage, and Robert Stone was talking to Lola Vice in the doctor's office. She wants Kalani Jordan in Atlanta in 2 weeks. Robert Stone then leaves after he hears commotion in another part of the building, and then that's when, after he leaves, Kalani Jordan attacks Lola Vice. Then she stomps her injured hand into a drawer to continue their feud. And Carver backstage is when Robert Stone discovers what happened. He killed a bunch of losers in the back. This push is bullshit. Sean really needs to go, man. He's pushing all these losers. NXT sucks when people like this get pushed. There's good parts of NXT. There's a lot of talent, and there's a lot of potential for talents on the show to become stars on the main roster. But, I mean, there's just so many of these. It's these Baron Corbinites. That's what I want to call them, Baron Corbinites. Oh, they wanted to push Corbin for years. They pushed him down our throats. He was awful. It's like, that's all these guys remind me of. Someone like Josh Briggs, it's Baron Corbin 2.0. And like all these guys, they're just nobodies, man. Anyway, we got a Dark State promo in the ring. They're interrupted by the culling, and then the OTM comes through the crowd. They also want title shots. Hank and Tank come out, also want shots. Leads to an all-up brawl, and then Tony D'Angelo takes out Dark State after they're distracted. We see Joe Hendry heading to the ring next. Robert Stone tells Kelly Kincaid there will be a triple threat tag team match next week. Winner gets a shot in Atlanta. Then we go to see Shiloh Hill in Robert Stone's office, and he was wearing a hockey mask and holding a machete. I almost forgot. It's Friday the 13th, this Friday. And we got Shiloh Hill cosplaying as Jason Voorhees. You know, they already had one horror movie villain. I mean, someone no one knows about, the Psycho Killer, whatever his name is. But at least we got a major horror movie character, Jason. I just wish he could have used a better hockey mask. I mean, get like one of the ones like that they sell in the Spirit Halloweens. The ones like with the cuts on the mask. Those look way better than like this cheap hockey mask he was using. But he also had a fake machete, which was it was cool. At least, you know what, I think Charlotte Hill sucks, but you know what, I like that he was referencing Jason, because I do like Jason and I like Friday the 13th movies. But then Ethan Page walks in and he wants a new challenger. Hill walks out, and he eventually walks in and he gets the match. He was holding up a machete really close to Ethan Page's throat. Thankfully, it was not real, but it was a cool visual, I have to admit. And I thought Ethan Page sold it well. Then we go to the NXT Championship match. Joe Hendry against Jackson Drake. The other two guys, the Vanity Project wrestlers, are ejected from the match. They had a decent match. Hendry wins after he hits the standing ovation. Then he's attacked by Ricky Saints, who is wearing a hoodie. Of course, another hoodie attack in the WWE. Ryan Sinclair and Kendall Gray were talking in the locker room ahead of their match tonight. Hank and Tank were out next. Then we go to Dark State. They're cutting a promo backstage on whoever wins the tag team match next week. Then we go to Hank and Tank taking on the Vanity Project. I thought they were having a surprisingly good match. I don't know too much about the Vanity Project. OTM tries to run down, then Jackson Drake interferes as the referee was distracted from OTM, and it allows the Vanity Project to win. They preview next week's show. Then Zari and Sol Ruka were out. They show us the Vegas Strip again to promote WWE World. What's weird about this whole thing with Vegas is they haven't announced Stand and Deliver. Already, Vengeance Day didn't happen. This was the first time in many years where WWE didn't do a Vengeance Day event for NXT. So no Vengeance Day this year. Are we going to get Stand and Deliver? I assume we will. They have to. Or you just think they will. I mean, they're not going to miss Stand and Deliver. It's the biggest show of the year, but they haven't announced it. It's just strange, because We all know WrestleMania is announced. They announced the Hall of Fame. They announced WWE World. They announced a SmackDown and Raw in Vegas. Why haven't they announced NXT Stand and Deliver yet? It's just strange. Kelly Kincaid interviewed Shawn Legacy backstage. He called out Keanu Carver. I don't care about this. Vanity Project want in the number one contender spot. They demand that Robert Stone let them in. He eventually agrees to it, and he books the match to now be a fatal four-way match next week. Miles Bourne walks in and complains. Stone tells him to do something out of character. Look, Robert Stone is not good, but he's better than Ava. I just think the show relies way too much on the GM. I think the biggest problem is the writing on the show. The head booker is very bad, in my opinion. There's a lot that could be improved, but there is a lot of bright spots in NXT. I don't know, it just feels like ever since Ava's gone, I'm more tolerant of the show overall because she was so bad that I'm almost like being more. I almost want to like the show and give it a better review because she's gone. That's how bad she was. They preview next week's show. Then Ren Sinclair and Kendall Gray wrote next for the main event. And we get the main event match, Sol Ruca and Zarya against Kendall Gray and Ren Sinclair. Whoever scores a fall in this tag team match gets a title match in Atlanta. So Zarya and Sol were arguing. Zarya even shoved her down. Ren and Sol each performed dives to the outside. It was actually not Ren and Sol. Ren and Kendall perform dives to the outside. And Kendall was the one who had a really nice moonsault to the outside. Then, of course, I got a commercial, so I missed like the next 4 minutes of the match, which sucked. So Ren allows Kendall to tag herself in, and then there was a blind tag when Sol Ruca accidentally tagged in the match. Zarya bumped into her from Kendall, I think, or Ren, one of them, and then like Sol had her hand on the what that string or whatever, that tag team string or something, and it led to Sol being the legal one. Zarya doesn't even know it, and I'm not sure Sol would know it, but she's legal, and then. What's her name? Zarya is working over Zarya is working over Ren. Then that's when Sol Ruca hits a Soul Snatcher on Kendall Gray. It doesn't hit, by the way. It botches. It's pretty bad botch, but Kendall sells it anyway. Sol pins her. I'm surprised that Sol pinned Kendall. I thought she'd pin Ren for sure, but Sol Ruca gets the win. She will now face JC Jane 2 weeks in Atlanta for the NXT Women's Championship. Of course, Zarya will cost her, and JC Jane's reign of terror will continue. I don't know why Shawn Michaels loves JC Jane so much, but I really think it's time to make a change there. He's doing such a bad job with booking her, and it's so awful. It's like, why isn't Blake Monroe the NXT Women's Champion? Why isn't Jada Parker chasing her? Why isn't Sol Ruca chasing her? Even, the NXT Women's North American Championship. It seems like they've done nothing with that recently. And, a feud with Kalani Jordan Lola Vice should be for a belt at least a mid-card belt. He's doing such a bad job. Anyway, they preview next week's show. Then JC Jane and Fatal Influence confront Sol Ruca to end the show. And that was NXT. Look, ever since they got rid of Ava left on her own, the show has been a little bit better, I'm not going to lie. But there's still a lot of issues with NXT. And I really think the biggest problem seems to be the booker and the writers. They're not doing a good job. But there is talent and there is a lot of bright spots. And that was NXT. And they're really heavily built. They promoted next week a lot, but their next big show for NXT is 2 weeks in Atlanta. We'll see what they do then, and we'll see what NXT does in the meantime. And hopefully there is a Stand and Deliver this year. It would be a shame if there wasn't, because they still haven't announced it. I don't know why. I don't know what they're waiting for, but as of right now, WWE has not announced Stand and Deliver for Las Vegas.